Good day, brothers and sisters. I'll see you over there watching us. Continue to watch us and press all those buttons and share, please. But we have to cover this story again. You know, we did the story on Titanic and the missing sub, and we showed you the significance of connection to the actual Titanic, JP Morgan, and the Fed. And the question that we all asked at that show between me, Glenn, and Andre was, who's on that boat? And now that, unfortunately, we know those people have perished and the names have become public, we know who was on that boat. I'm telling you, don't let the good crisis go to waste. Usually, the powers to be, the globalists, you know, the slave owners, the captors, the banks, the BlackRocks, and whoever runs the world. And what happened this time, I think it might have been an accident. Oh, I don't think it was. I think it was done intentionally. I think if you ask my opinion, it's a distraction. It's a distraction from what really is going on. And why do I think so? I'll show it to you in a second. But let's get to the story, Glenn. What do you know about the story?
Well, it's been in the news a lot lately, obviously. The prostitutes are putting it out there because they're run by the whore masters, and that's what they want everybody to focus on. And, you know... since now we know, we were getting that sinking feeling, obviously, and not a pun, but as to probably cover up something else.
Well, just proves my point that, yes, that it's exactly what you just said. It is a cover-up. And the reason why I say this is, well, there's few things about this. Well, before we get to the cover-up, and the cover-up is really clear. There was an explosion recorded by U.S. Navy on Sunday, but they only released that information on Thursday, made that public after they found the wreckage. What happened between Sunday and Thursday, Glenn?
Durham report with the Russian collusion and who's been doing what to try and take ex-President Trump out of the picture.
Biden story.
The Biden stories with his son, unfortunately, is a junkie, Hunter Biden. Taking money from Ukraine, taking money from China. And you're going to see the similarities with the China and the government connections and money laundering and taking of money and bribes. You're going to see that up here in Canada too with the Trudeau and the Trudeau Foundation, the Liberal government. This is why the Biden administration gets along very well with the Trudeau government up here in Canada, because they're both on the same bad side of things. And a little bit about that mini submarine that went down. It's owned by the company Ocean Gate. And apparently this submarine's been around for 5 years. They work in international waters so that the people who design and build the submarine, the engineers, they don't fall under any type of jurisdictions. And also the captain of the boat, he is the official law at that time when you're in international waters. So that is one and only the law, and everybody has to follow that. The Titanic is down 3,800 meters below sea level. But this is only about 1/3 of the true deepest depths of the ocean. The highest mountains recorded on the planet are about 5 miles high, and the depth of the ocean is about another mile beyond that. So you could look at 6 miles, and that's what they know of so far.
And we do have technology to reach the top of the mountain, at least visually, right, with the planes and other things. But to reach the depth of the ocean, it's very limited technology. So I guess that was it's an interesting technology that we're developing to get to this, sort of pioneering the field. But guess what, Glenn? We talk about this all the time. Everything woke goes what?
Goes broke. And they were saying that this mini sub exploded. That was the original thing that was coming out from the mainstream media Muppets. But I was thinking, no, with all that pressure, it would have to have imploded.
Implode. Yeah, I think that's an implosion. But what else they're saying is that the guy really didn't take the best measures. He was sort of kind of had this woke ideology. Actually, we have a video here of interview he gave on some show, and let's just watch this right away.
Tell me a little bit about how you guys do that and the importance of that to your organization.
Yes, I mean, when I started the business, one of the things you'll find,
CEO.
there are other sub-operators out there, but they typically have gentlemen who are ex-military submariners, and you'll see a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational, and I'm not going to inspire a 16-year-old to go pursue marine technology. But a 25-year-old, who's a sub-pilot or a platform operator, or one of our techs, can be inspirational. And so we've really tried to get very intelligent, motivated, younger individuals involved, because we're doing things that are completely new. We're taking approaches that are used largely in the aerospace industry, is related to safety and some of the preponderance of checklists, things we do for risk assessments and things like that are more aviation related than ocean related. And
that's a lot of red flags, Glenn. First of all, what is that? You just mentioned it. It's two completely different environments: the airspace and water, implosion versus explosion, different pressures, different technology. Also, if you want to be the best at everything, like right here, like we're looking to expand, and we're not looking to hire high school kids, even though they may be the best at understanding the social media. And actually, I don't know that if that's the case of the truth, but let's say if they are. But I also would like a guy who's been out there and more disciplined, right? So I want somebody who has an experience working in organization where he understands the timelines, he understands the teamwork, he understands the responsibility of delivering the product on time and everything else. And that's probably the person you're going to look for with experience. And when it comes down to someone's safety, by the way, did you know, Glenn, there's a lot of red flags in there. Beside that, the first page headed the word, they had to sign disclaimers, obviously. So the first page of this disclaimer had 3 times the word death mentioned in it. They had to be sealed in from outside. The submarine is actually dropped, and it's not like they don't have any they have minimum amount of the equipment because they have to keep the pressure you cannot have any kind of extra bolts or screws or anything like this anywhere you can have the pressure leaking out, etc. So there's a minimum amount of equipment in this submarine to go that deep. So it's actually guided by another device and sends the text messages. So you're basically being dropped and hoping you'll get to the target. And it's controlled by a Logitech joystick that you buy online for like $10, right? So there's so many different, we have a picture of this, and it really is that. You think I'm lying, Glenn? Look
no,
at this.
No, I don't think you're lying. But it was made a lot different. Obviously, it's made of titanium and also of carbon fiber on the exterior shell. But no, what you were saying, as the CEO of a company, you want to hire the people who are better at what they're doing than you are at what you're doing. That's how you put a good team together. To hire people who are green into the business for something that is so dangerous and you're a pioneer, no, you want to hire people who have more experience to ensure that you're going to have a lot less problems.
Well, it brings me back to original question. Why, if there is, report of U.S. Navy detecting the implosion, right, as they say it, on Sunday, why did they only release it on Thursday? And the greater question even is, why did not only American but also Canadian taxpayers spend so much money on rescue operations if the Navy already knew on Thursday that something terrible has happened? So they knew that happened. Like they know how deciphered the sounds. It's like, okay, yeah, this is no longer a rescue operation. This is a recovery operation. Glenn, so speaking of corruption, speaking of everything that's going on with this Durham report, they continue to dig into Trump's story, Trump, but it really isn't Trump's story, is it?
No, on the Hill in Washington, they've been really hammering out with Durham, who was hired by Barr as a special investigator to all this. And what they're really exposing is how criminal the FBI and the DOJ, Department of Justice, have become. And now it's exposed even more because they're being used as a weapon. In other words, they're weaponized against the Trump administration from coming back and taking power, as the Biden administration is sinking the West into oblivion. And he's making a lot of pocket money on the side doing it behind the taxpayers' back. And and the taxpayers are the ones who are feeling this as the economy is getting ready to turn bad. It's going to sink a lot quicker than this mini sub did, I'll tell you that.
So going back to red flags, so there's a lot of red flags. For example, like Glenn, again, we are millionaires here. Let's have a millionaire discussion, right? We had it last time. Would you rather fly to space or go into this pioneering technology, into this unknown technology? I wouldn't spend $250,000 signing a death waiver. Okay, I'll be the first one to look at the Titan. I don't care. Right, and even if it is Olympic written on the side of the boat, and I'll be the one coming back saying, J.P. Morgan did it. They did it so they can get rid of Tesla's funding and they can create the Fed and all this other stuff. I don't care enough to die at the bottom of the sea, right, or the ocean, whatever. But there's a lot of red flags. For example, Mike Reese or Reyes, whatever his name is, the former showrunner of Simpsons. He apparently he already used the services of this company, and he went in a boat or whatever it is 4 times. And all 4 times he says the communication has failed. There's something there. Like I almost feel like those people were forced to go in. Those people, they weren't just ordinary people. So let's look into this. Who was actually, do you know, Glenn, who was on the boat, by the way?
It was 5 people, and they're all in very close confinement because of the actual size of the mini submarine. And obviously, they're fairly wealthy people because it was $250,000 each to get down there. But,
look at how tight that is. It's like basically a pipe and people sitting in the pipe, and it's really, really tight. If you're claustrophobic, I wouldn't even knowing to go under the water. I wouldn't sit even inside of it, even knowing that's not in the water. Like you have to have some really nerves of steel, Glenn. Like, would you do this?
Well, personally, no, that's not for me. I mean, I understand it's humanity's willpower and wish to want to push the boundaries all the time. I mean, this is why we want to go to space. We want to go to other planets. We want to go to the depths of the oceans or to the heights of the mountains, and we risk. But there's something inherently valiant about that also. But I think when you were showing how small the space was and confined everybody is, I think one of the rules was no having McDonald's before going down because, you don't want to have Rotten Ronnie's revenge in a little place like that because the other 4 people are going to be a little bit upset.
I mean, no disrespect to the deceased, but I'm sure it was a little bit of Ronnie's revenge right before it imploded, if they had actually any warning signs. But okay, brothers and sisters, I looked into it. Remember, I was like, I want to know who's on the boat. I want to know who's in that sub because I'm telling you, they don't get this opportunity to go to waste for no reason. And it's interesting. So there's a billionaire, right? He's the British billionaire and chairman of aviation company, Action Aviation, Dubai-based company. His name is Hamish Harding. I looked into him. Maybe something, maybe nothing. Maybe just a rich guy, maybe not. But no red flags. So we also had obviously the CEO of the company, right? This guy Stockton Rush. He was apparently he was piloting the doomsday device for those people. Also, they had a director, right, of the what's his name?
77-year-old French explorer,
Yes, 77-year-old French explorer.
Paul-HENRI Nargeolet.
He's the former commander of French Navy. So he's sort of like, I mean, he's probably the most experienced guy there when it comes to any kind of ocean activity. But what raised the biggest red flag for me was those two.
Shahzada Dagwood and his
Dawood.
19-year-old son, Suleiman Dagwood.
Yeah, so the Suleiman obviously is his son, but you know the significance of Dawood? So Dawood is the owner of Engro. He's the CEO of Engro Corporation. Engro Corporation is the biggest Pakistani corporation. Do you know what Engro Corporation specializes in? I pulled it up, right? So right away, we have to trust the sources. WikiLeaks. I mean, WikiLeaks. It's Wikipedia. So if it's on Wikipedia, it must be true. But actually, I went online and I looked into the company, and they do put a condolences message on the website. So it is true. And the founder, or I mean, it's not founder. He's the CEO of the company that's located in Karachi, Pakistan. And it's founded as a fertilizer business in 1965. When I read that, right away, red flag went on, brothers and sisters. You know, remember the fertilizer story that we had not so long ago?
That's the sodium nitrate.
Sodium nitrate. Guess what? I'm just gonna play this video really quick.
Whole submarine sinking thing. Well, I kind of got curious and decided to look up the passengers to just to see who it was. Well, just so happens that one of the passengers that is missing is the one that manufactured the same chemical that was involved in the Palestine, Ohio train wreck, also partnering with the company that is responsible for the 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate that went missing between Wyoming and California this year. All based out of the Middle East between Pakistan, Turkey, and Australia.
Uh-oh.
And you guys are concerned the fact that they paid $250,000 a person to take a ride in a submarine to go see one of the most famous shipwrecks of all time, and yet that's the problem? Okay.
Glenn, as I was saying, this was fishy from the beginning. I said, look into who's on the boat, because there's more than one flag there for sure. Something has happened, and I guess. I mean, I looked into this. Does that make sense? It does. Can I prove it 100% that maybe this guy knew about the missing fertilizer? Did this guy knew about? Was he somehow involved in the maybe already just put dead bodies into this boat and dropped them into the ocean and let it implode? And that's the cover up, because they're not just. And then it's also a form of sacrifice, Glenn. You know why I think it's a form of sacrifice? Why do you think that I think it's a form of sacrifice?
Chap, stranger things have been known to happen, but keep going. Why do you think it's a sacrifice?
Well, do you know who's the wife of the CEO who died, the Ocean Gate CEO? She's a great-great-granddaughter of Macy's founder and his spouse, made famous in James Cameron's smash movie as the elderly couple embracing on bed as Titanic. So her grandmother was that, the person, she actually died on Titanic, and she was pictured in the in Cameron's movie dying on the bed with her husband. I mean, symbolism will, like, when you have all those symbolic events put together, we're onto something, brothers and sisters.
And also Cameron, he has his own submarine, and he's been numerous times he's been down there. There are some people who've been down scanning the deck of the so-called Titanic. They've been down like over 24 times.
Yeah, and he somehow he was all right. Why didn't he let them borrow his sub? I mean, we know why, because they would have probably made it back. That's why. So, brothers and sisters, it really is a story which has a lot of fascinating loose ends to it. And if we look at it from the position, poor guys, like Glenn said, and not look at what actually really happening in the world, because we have people dying left and right, and somehow we're supposed to feel bad about a bunch of billionaires signing the death waiver.
Well, champ, it's not just about people with money who are passing away, but let's put things into perspective right here, right now. Let's ask the people out there, how many of you know that early in the week, 46 women were killed in a woman's prison in Honduras because the prison system is so corrupt that female gang leaders in the prison were allowed to get to procure guns and go into another part where there's a so-called another gang and start killing everybody and using machete to hack them up, and also locking people in their cells, dousing them with gasoline, kerosene, and putting them on fire. That was 46 women have died, but we're focusing on the 5 people at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I think that's exactly the best point why this media was, whenever media puts something like this and they put so much attention into it, and the governments and the Pentagon, remember the Pentagon video we watched in the previous video? Why this Pentagon knew there was something already up, because on Sunday they recorded that explosion or implosion. And yet they remain quiet about that. So now don't trust the sources on legacy media. Don't trust anything but your own discernment. And how do you discern? You receive information from many, many sources. You listen to yourself. Now, speaking of many, many sources, now that Bill C-11 actually is springing into action here, Glenn, did you know about that? And unfortunately, now companies like Meta, which is Facebook, so Instagram as well, they're not going to put any news items on the feeds in Canada. You know why? Because information like this is not going to be made available to you, brothers and sisters. So you are living in dictatorship. And they didn't do it so they can promote Canadian content. They did it so they can limit your access, so they can make North Korea out of Canada. Welcome to China, brothers and sisters.
All done to control how you think. But that can only happen if you relinquish the control over how you think. They can't make you think a certain way. Only you can allow yourself to be thinking a certain way. If you get all the information from one source or a group of sources that are all from the same, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're looping yourself out of the awareness level. So always be aware. Like in Canada now, you see it. You said it, Champ. We're living in a dictatorship where now they want to control what the people get to see, or how, if they can make choices for themselves. No. We know what's better for you, and we are going to impose these restrictions because we only want you to know this. This is what we feel is good. Like I've said before, it's time for everybody to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Politicians, you forgot one most important thing. You work for us. Collectively, we are the bosses, not you. Okay? We pay your salary, and you will do what we want. This is a democracy, and this democracy is supposed to expose what the government is not to do. And this is happening at the same time that the government here in Canada, they're going on vacation for 11 weeks. They go on in the summer for 11 weeks, and they go on in the winter for 4 to 5. So 1/3 of their time, where they're supposed to be working and what we're paying for, they're not even working. They're enjoying themselves on our dime. Tell me, what company do you work for? They give you those type of perks and freebies, and these politicians are expensive,
and they raise their salaries every year,
and we're paying them to control the way we think.
Revolution will be televised, and we're going to speak about it, and it's already started. But it's not starting violently. It's starting in your minds, and starting in your homes, and starting in your communities. You need to be proactive. Don't wait for somebody else to save you. Save yourself first. Save your family, save your community, and engage and encourage other people to engage. That's the message. Be kind, be loving, be friendly. We'll see you on the next one, brothers and sisters.